We will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Today we will start reflections on 4 requisites. This is very common in the monastery life. All the words consistent by English. Today we have to elaborate and we have to explain part by part and word by word. When we are eating, or when we are wearing the robes, or when we are using the monastery, when we are taking medicine, we have to reflect on these things. According to our daily chant, or according to Visuddhimagga, we start with robes. As we have known that Patisambhidamagga yoniso, Jivarambhidi sevami, Yava deva, Siddha saparikataya, Una saparikataya, and so forth. We can chant every day in our daily chant or every morning. So when we talk about Patisambhidamagga yoniso, here we say it's a wise intentions or wisely reflecting or reviewing, which means we must reflect on the purpose of using 4 requisites. So here I mentioned Jivara, any kinds of robes, such as lower robes and so forth. According to Vinaya, we have 9 types of robes: upper robes, lower robes, and double robes. These 3 are very common we use in our daily life. Not only that, we also have facial towel. We also have to use this one every day. This also can be considered as a robe. Now we have like a rain robes, like a bathing robes. Now we also have like a bondage robes, bondage clothes. We can say bondage clothes when we have some injury in our skin or some skin disease. We have to use bondage clothes. Then, in brief, there are robes we have to use in our daily life, or we have to use according to the situations or condition. So whatever robes we are going to use, we must reflect these things. Patisambhidamagga, here I translate as a wear or use. As we have 3 robes: upper robes, lower robes, and double robes. Mostly we wear these 3 robes. But now we also wear some inner clothes. But anyway, when we are going to wear, or when we are wearing, then we have to reflect these things. Like a bed sheet, or facial towel, and like a bathing clothes, and such as like a rain bathing clothes and like bondage clothes. When we are using, then we have to reflect these things. And they are mentioned Yava Deva, Siddha saparikataya, Una saparikataya. And here mentioned right? Siddha saparikataya, Una saparikataya, to protect from heat and cold, or cold and heat. So it can be both of the coldness, internally it can be body temperature. When we have sickness, it can be our body temperature will be higher or it can be lower. It depends on the situations. But it also can be external heat or cold, like weather. In the winter, it will be cold season. It will be very cold externally. So sometimes when we are disturbed by cold, if too cold, we cannot meditate. Our body temperature will become very low. We cannot meditate easily, not that much comfortable. But similarly, heat also can be any kind of heat. Okay, it also can be body temperature. It also can be heat externally, like a fire. We can also protect from fire burning. This is also the purpose of we use the rope. Then we have the next part in Pali. Dansa Makasa Wadadapa Sirisapa Sapasana. They are mentioned, bitten by the flies, blown by or touched by the wind with the dust or without dust, burnt by the sunlight, bitten by crawling creepers such as snake and so on. So here we talk about Dansa Makasa. Although here we list out black flies or flies, something like that, it also can be considered any kind of thing like mosquitoes or any insect bites. So if we are bitten by many insects, we cannot meditate easily. So then again, we also have like here, blown by the wind or touched by the winds with the dust. And sometimes it was dusty, then the wind will carry many dust. It can also disturb us. If the wind blow without dust, also if it's too strong, too heavy, it can disturb us. So we can also protect our body from the wind with the dust or without dust. Then we can also protect our body from the sunlight. It also can be any kind of heat, any kind of ray. Then we can also protect our body from the biting, crawling creepers. Here we just talk about crawling creepers. So here we just talk about snake because it's very easy to know there's a crawling creeper. There can be many other crawling creeper that also can bite us. So if we have claws, they cannot bite easily. They cannot penetrate our body easily. That is why their teeth cannot penetrate our body easily. This is also the purpose of wearing the robes. Then we have the next one. Hirikopina Brichadanatan. To cover or conceal the private parts of the body that are shameful if uncovered. This is very common of wearing the robes in our daily life, whether laypersons or whether a bhikkhu. We have to wear the clothes to cover our body in order that we may feel shame if somebody see some of the body parts, private body parts. So these are the Pali words we can find in the daily chant. So we have to reflect all these things. If we summarize, we just use the robes to protect our body from the heat and cold. We just use our robes to protect our body from mosquito bite, insect bite, or crawling creeper, or sunlight and wind. We just wear our robes to conceal shameful body parts. These are the purpose of wearing the robes. Now we have to understand why do we have to reflect like that. Then if we don't reflect, we may have attachment to the food. attachment to the clothes. Then when we reflect, we know the purpose. It's not because of good quality or bad quality. It's just for protection. So this is the purpose of wearing robes. We have to reflect when we are using the robes or before wearing or while wearing. Then we also have to reflect when we are eating food. Mostly we just use the Pali word pinta pada as foods. We translate mostly. But here pinta and pada actually falling or dropping. So which means any kind of food that's dropped into our hands bowl, that's called pinta pada. Then it also can be considered as any kind of nutriment, a certain medicine. Can be considered as pinta pada. Sometimes the nutrients, but we don't have to consume, just applying or ingestion. At that time, we don't consider it as a food, it's just medicine. Now, when we are going to eat food, there are more information about reflections. They mention neva dawaya, not for amusement. Like boys. So here we have to think about the one. Amusement means like a playing. Many kids, many young boys, they will play. They will enjoy the life by playing, by kidding or something like that. Not for amusement. Then again, we have one more thing. If we don't reflect like this can be powerful dependence of delusion. So we have to remember one thing, delusion. Sometimes we don't know the purpose of eating food. That means we have delusion. If we know the purpose, that means we don't have delusion. We have a wise attention. We have already mentioned in the very beginning of this Dhamma Talk. The namadhaya, not for intoxicating or not to be proud of strength like a boxers. So that means you may have seen many kickboxers or fighters or athletes, or you may also have seen many martial artists. So they will be very strong. They train their body too much and they will become very strong. They can be proud of their strength. They can defeat anybody in the rings or anywhere. So one more thing here, I also have mentioned, mata also can be considered as madness, craziness. Which means we have to understand when we are proud of our strength too much, it's like a crazy person. Not only that, whatever conceit or pride we have can be considered as madness. That if we don't reflect, or if we are proud of our strengths, then this also can be powerful dependent of hatred. We can fight anybody. We can fight with anybody. Here, I have to explain one more thing about powerful dependence. In Pali, we call upanisaya. Very powerful dependence is called upanisaya. So it comes from, it also can be the dependent of hatred. Hatred can come from this strength. Okay, here we talk about hatred. Actually, when we talk about the Pali words like dosa or patika, that means gross minds. Patika means very gross. It will be something unusual. Mind is unpleasant, undesirable mind. This is called patika or dosa. Then again, we have not madhaya. We are not eating foods for smartening or plumpness in the limbs like raya, concubines, or courtesans. This is called mandanaya, smartening. So this one is also can be considered a kind of decorations, right? Where some people they have to make their body beautiful. If there's some lower, very low, like their muscles is not very fully strong, then they have to make it stronger, or they have to make it beautiful. This is called mandana. So this is just a common in everywhere, right? Here we just mentioned about raya concubines or courtesans because it's like a prostitution or something like that. Anyway, so that kind of decoration can be very common everywhere. And not only that, we also have like a na-vibhusanaya for embellishment or clear skins or complexions, like dancers or actors. So we can also say like a attracts, right? Vibhusana. Here we use the Pali word vibhusana. Then it's like the skin become clearer or brighter. If we have good food, good nutrition, sure our body become very bright. If we don't have good food or enough foods, our body become very weak, also not that much good looking. So here the purpose of eating food is not for beautifying or not for brightening the skins. Then here we mention the Pali words. Na mandanaya, na vibhusanaya. This is true. Can be powerful dependent of greed. So that means we may have very strong attachment to our body. Mostly when we decorate or when we try to beautify ourselves, that means we have more attachment to our body. That is why here we have to understand all these things. The Buddha wishes us to be free from any kind of defilements. The Buddha wanted his disciples to consume foods without any delusions, hatred, greed, or by having less judgment to oneself and other people. Sometimes we have attachment to ourselves too much. Then if we have too much attachment to ourselves, there also can be extreme way. When we study the first discourse of the Buddha, Dhamma Talk, they are mentioned self-indulgence, kama sukkhandi kando yoga. So by reflecting all these things, we can be free from self-indulgence. We can protect ourselves from self-indulgence. This is also important in our practice. If we love ourselves too much, we will not work very hard. If something is a little bit painful, we will change our body too much, follow our body desire too much. We cannot improve easily. sometimes we can also break the precepts if we have too much self-indulgence. Then we have a next part, Yava Deva Imasa Kayasa. They mention this body, which is made of 4 elements. Here, Imasa Kayasa. If we say Imasa Kayasa, it just means this body. Of course, this body is made of 4 elements and all other materialities, according to our existence and our rebirth, linking consciousness, and so forth. So, in brief, here mentioned, if we talk about this body, we also talk about 4 elements and other materialities. Here, titiya, to endure or sustain. So that means we have to sustain this body. If we're going to sustain, we will pass away, we will die. Then we also have next body what? Yapanaya, to continue sustaining life faculty. So here we have our body. In this body, we have a karma-produced materialities. Then if the karma-produced materiality disappear, this body will disappear. This body will decay slowly, then we will pass away. So as long as we have karma-produced materialities, we are alive. When we pass away, no karma-produced materialities. Here in the commentary, it just mentioned to maintain or to sustain or to continue sustaining life faculties. But in reality, it must maintain all the materiality in this body. By eating foods, they are giving you nutriment-produced materialities. You can support any kind of nutriment in any kind of rupa kalpas. It can also sustain our body. Then there are mentioned many different types of examples or similes. For example, if we have very old house, also the old house is not very strong enough, it's going to fall down. And we have to reinforce the old house in order not to fall down. Similarly, we meditator has to feed this body in order to practice the 3 trainings. So that means there are many other examples. Here I've just mentioned one example, just reinforcing instruments to sustain the old houses. Similarly, the food is reinforcing our life faculty to continue our life. Not only that, they also mention some other example. For example, if there's a wheel, in the community it mentioned like a wheel of a bullock cart or a cart. But in modern community, it will be not that familiar for like Westerner or some people in Singapore or somewhere, because they don't have bullock cart. Anyway, if we say modern simile, like the car and engine oil, if there's no engine oil in the car, we're going to drive it smooth. It will spoil the car. Similarly, if we don't have nutriment in this body will be spoiled naturally. So that is why we have to use the nutriment to sustain this body continuously. Then we have the next part, Vihin Subharatiya, for the engine of discomfort. So this one is very easy because if we are hungry or if we don't have enough nutriment, we have to suffer for it. Our body is not that much comfortable. That is why here we have to reflect. When we are hungry, we have discomfort, so we have to consume the food. What also mentioned some simile, as the patient take medicine to heal the wounds or remove heat and cold of the body. For example, we have fever, we have to take medicine to remove heat from this body or cold from this body. Actually, there are many other examples mentioned in the commentary. For example, like when we are going to use medicine, it's like applying ointment in this body where there's a skin disease. Not only that, actually, it also mentioned very many things in detail about it. We have to explain later in the Samajanya. Samajanya means clear comprehension chapter. It mentioned very much in detail about how to think about it. For example, like the bowl is like a cup where we put all the medicines or wine to apply in this body. The rope is like a bondage to cover all the injury in this body or the wounds or skin disease in this body. There are many things like that mentioned in the chapter of clear comprehension. Later, we have to explain that part again. The main point is, we in Subhavriya for intent of discomfort means we have to be recovered from discomfort in this body, for example, stomach ache, or maybe disease, or many other sickness in this body if we don't have enough nutriment. Itchy, for example, if we don't have enough water, enough drinking water, skin will dry up, body smell will become very bad, something like that. Right? Also, body also discomfort, too much heaty, something like that. So we have to remove all the discomfort in this body. That's why we have to eat the food. This is called Vihin Subhavriya. The Brahmacharya Nukahaya. This is for assistance, life of purity. The Brahmacharya means sublime practice or noble practice. So this one refers to the Buddha's teaching. So there are two different types of Brahmacharya we can find in the text. Sasana Brahmacharya, the beauty of life by training the teaching of the Buddha. This is called Sasana Brahmacharya. So which means we have to practice. When we are practicing the three trainings, this is called Sasana Brahmacharya. So if we say another way, we are just eaten to be able to practice the three trainings. This is the main point we have to understand. Although we say assistant, if we don't have enough nutriment, we cannot learn Buddha's teaching. We cannot practice the Buddha's teaching. So if we are going to set for a very long journey without any provision, we have to hunger. Where do we hunger? And we cannot get our destination. We cannot reach the destination. Similarly, if we don't have enough food, we cannot attain Nibbana, because this is also one of the supporting causes. Later, we have to explain the supporting causes of meditation. One of them is Bhojana Sapaya, the suitable food. This is also very important. Anyway, here we have to understand, we just eat the food to be able to practice the teaching of the Buddha, the three trainings. The next one is the Magga Brahmacharya, the purity of noble paths. Here it just means path knowledge, which means to be able to attain the path knowledge. So if we don't have enough nutriment, we cannot attain any of path knowledge, any of fruition knowledge. So here the purpose of, if we summarize, the purpose of eating food is to to be able to practice the Buddha teaching and also to be able to attain Nibbana, to attain the path knowledge. Then the next part. Iti Purananja Vedana Patihankami. Here mentioned to stop all feeling that is produced by hunger or not eating. Then in reality, there are many, many other things mentioned. Right? Again, also Navanja Vedana now Padesami, not to arouse new feeling that is produced by overeating. So in this chapter, we have mentioned there are 5 types of Brahmins who overeat. We can find this one in Visuddhimagga about Paccayasannissita, as we are talking now. So we can also find it in many other places, but here the main part is we just have to know very simple things about the new sickness and old sickness. So the Patisambhidamagga, if we are very hungry, then we will not have, right? We may have discomfort. Then if we have too much eating, it will be something discomfort. Okay, now the main point here, mention 5 Brahmins. There are mentioned 5 Brahmins who overeat. The next one maybe. So a Brahmin who eats and he has to be held up by hands. So that means he eats too much that he cannot stand up by himself. Somebody must help him to stand up. You can imagine how much he eats. Right? Too much eating, this really too much eating. Okay, now again, we have next part, next one. 2, a Brahmin who eats until his clothes cannot meet. So which means he cannot wear his clothes anymore. His body is fell down from his body. But then mostly when we are eating, we loosen our clothes, right? In order that we may be able to eat more and more. So he loosened his clothes gradually, finally. His clothes cannot attach each other to really fall off. So this is the call overeating. Another one is a Brahmin, 3, a Brahmin who eats and he rolls there on the floor or on the ground, and he cannot stand up anymore. He's just lying down and roll here and there. You can imagine how strong, how is his attachment, right? Another one is number 4, a Brahmin who eats till crow can peck from his mouth. I think it will be something funny for listeners, I think, right? But anyway, this kind of thing can happen already. That's why the Buddha said all these things. Then again, we have the last one, a Brahmin who eats till he vomits what he has eaten. So he cannot keep it. He has the throat and the stomach, and he vomits. So this is the parts that mention about Patisambhidamagga. Right? If we are good, the old sickness and new sickness. So after eating too much, there will be new sickness. At the least, we may feel drowsy if we have too much eaten. Sometimes we will feel discomfort in our body also, in the stomach. So here, in this context, the Buddha wants his disciple to moderate in the food. This is also very common in Buddha's teaching. The Buddha talk about moderating in foods in many, many different parts. Then you may also have known from time to time, we also say in the Dhamma Talk, moderating in food means we must accept what we can consume. We must know the amount we can consume. We must know the suitable foods we have to be consumed. We have to consume. This is called moderating food. When we are accepting, we must adjust or moderate. Sometimes a lot of donors come and offer, so we cannot reject. We have to accept all the foods. And when we are going to eat, we must eat only suitable food for us. This is called moderating in food. Okay, here I also mentioned about all feeling. Previously, we have talked about Buddha Nija Vedana, right? All feeling. So all feeling also means that feeling produced by past karma. Of course, we all have past karma. Without past karma, we cannot be reborn as a human being here. So again, then by moderating in foods, people can also prevent themselves from past karma that can produce sickness. Okay, here I have to introduce something about the karma. All the past karmas are waiting for present actions of present karma. If our present karma is bad, past karma can give results. Now here again, if we can moderate in foods, we have less opportunity to suffer from sickness produced by past karma. This is the main point we have to mention in this chapter. Then there's a new feeling, also means the feeling in the future, in the woeful states, produced by karma, by wisely consuming food. So that means if we don't wisely consume the foods, we may have attachment, hatred, pride, and also can be any kind of defilements according to the situation. All these akusala karma, unwholesome karma, can also produce result in woeful states. So if we are wise enough to eat the food by reflection, as Buddha guided, we may have more wholesome minds, we may have less attachment to the food, then we may have less possibility to be reborn in the woeful state. Okay, here I also mentioned, in this context, the Buddha wanted his disciple to avoid the two extreme ways. Self-indulgence and self-mortification. Even at the very beginning of Sila chapter, we have already mentioned these two things. If we have self-indulgence, we cannot practice morality. Because we love our body too much, that we may follow our body desires or the demands of our body. We follow too much, then we cannot practice Sila easily and comfortably. We may have a lot of excuses. Then contrary to that, we have self-mortification. If we torture our body too much, we cannot have concentration. I have already talked about it in the very beginning of Sila chapter. Anyway, so these two are two extreme ways, self-indulgence and self-mortification. If we don't follow these two paths, we are in the middle path. So sometimes we don't eat, then we will have to suffer from it. You can practically read in the Majjhima Nikaya how the Buddha practiced austerity in Uruvela forest. At the time, he just had very small amount of food, so his body became very, very tolerable, also skinny and bony. Body became very weak. So this also called suffering. Too much torturing the body, some mortification. The Buddha himself also later mentioned is mortification in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Okay, the main part is, if we wisely use or wisely consume the foods, right, to prevent our body from old sickness and new sickness, there's also, we are following the middle path. We are free from self-indulgence and self-mortification. And the next one is Yataraja Bodhisati. I shall be healthy. Yataraja Bodhisati. So the one is, in reality, to maintain our body postures or to balance our body postures. By moderating in foods, we can also sustain this life faculty. Also, without any interruptions, we can also balance the postures. We have already known this one. The Buddha himself had this problem when he was walking in meditation, he fell down because of lack of nutrients in his body. So when we get sick or when our body becomes very weak, we cannot stand or sit as we wish. Then, one more thing, the food itself is actually medicine to cure sickness. We also have some Myanmar proverb. Food is also medicine. Medicine is also food. We have this kind of proverb in Myanmar. Anyway, the main point is, if we don't have sickness, then we can go wherever we like. We can do whatever that we like. We are strong enough to do Then if we don't have enough nutriment, we cannot go wherever we like. We cannot do whatever thing we like. We don't have enough energy to do it. That's why he mentioned Yataraja Vibhoisati. Then again, Anavachadaja. Next one. Blameless. So it's blameless by wisely searching, accepting, and consuming. There are three things when we are searching, which means when we are going for Pindapata. Then accepting, when we are really accepting food, or consuming, when we are eating. We can reflect in one of these three periods. If we can do in these three, it will be much better. So when we are going to eat, right? When we are going for Pindapata, we must use it by reflecting. Then when we are accepting or eating, we must use this method, reflecting on the using of the food. Then if unwise, is blamable for being bored with meditation and seclusions for drowsiness. So that means if we overeat, we may feel drowsiness. Right? If drowsy, we cannot meditate well. That is why we have to think about our practice or the way we eat. Again, here I also mentioned like a seclusion. Sometimes our minds are not ready to live in the seclusion. Also, if we live in the seclusions, we also have drowsiness. Sometimes we also have like wrong thoughts if we are unwise. Okay, it depends on the food we eat. We have to know which food is suitable for us. And then sometimes some of the food also make our mind changing, make mind crazy, right? We have to avoid this kind of food. It will become blamable. So we have to eat blameless food. Then Passcode. So Passcode means live in comfort. So the meditator can live in comfort by having enough nutriment. This one is very easy to understand. We don't need to explain many different things about it. So we have to proceed about dwelling or resting place. In Pali, it mentions Senasana, resting place or sitting place. So it can be a monastery or a building. It also can be a court or a sitting place. Sometimes we may have some courts under the tree to meditate. Anyway, the main thing is whenever we are going to use the dwelling place or the resting place or sitting place, we must reflect these things. So this one is also very similar to using the robes, but it will be slightly different. So he also mentioned to protect from heat and cold. It will be a little bit different from the robes, and here we have the dwelling place. And they also mention Uduprisaya Vinodana Prisala Naramata. So let me form the purpose of one of the praise of climate and enjoying retreats. So that means when we are too cold or too hot, the mind can be distracted by the climate. Body is also discomfort. Among the suitable conditions or suitable resorts, they also mention Senasana Sapaya, suitable dwelling place or suitable residence. If we can live in a suitable place, always very hot, then the living place can protect us from heat and cold. This is the power of a living place. It will be totally different from the roads, right? The road also can protect from heat and cold, but not so strong as living place. Okay, now, here we also mention two types. There are two types of parisaya. I just mentioned in Pali and in English. Then here mention the first one is evidence praise such as tiger, lion, and so on. This one, okay, we can here called Paccayasannissita. It's very clear. Tiger, lion, and any other animals in the forest, including snakes, right? If our kuti is well protected, very good wealth, or very good roof, no dangerous creeper can enter into our kutis. Also, no other dangerous insect also can enter into our kuti. This is called Paccayasannissita. The good living place can protect from this kind of danger or praise. Paris, sorry. Then Patisambhidamagga, concealed perils such as greed and hate and so on. This comes from our internal. So that means sometimes if too luxurious, we may have wrong thoughts. Wrong thoughts means sensual thoughts or something like that. So if we have like normal and very simple living place or enough living place, so therefore meditations is good enough. Our mind can be free from greed, hatred, pride, also jealousies or any other things. So briefly, if we have good residence, good living place, it can protect us from heat and cold, mosquito bites, insect bites, snake bites, or any other creepers, poisonous, any other poisonous insect. It also can protect us from heat and cold, bad climate. So we have to reflect all these things. So this is the part of living place. Okay, now we have the last part, medicine. In the medicine also, it will start with Patisambhidamagga. Then after that, Kirana Paccaya Visuddhimagga. In our daily chants, we can find all these Pali passage and translation. So Kirana Paccaya Visuddhimagga, the logistics of medicine as cure for the sick. So whatever suitable medicines that can cure disease is called Vesaja. So it is the project of our life by preventing from sickness. It is also accessory for prolonging life. Although we say is medicine, but it also includes water. Water is also a kind of medicine. Without it, we cannot live. So here the Buddha allows his disciples to use many different types of medicine. For 70 medicines, like wines, ghees, molasses, butter, or honey, nowadays sugar, anything can be considered as medicine. So all the allowable medicines can be used here. Then we can also reflect when we are using it or accepting it. Then again, they also mention Upanana Virabhadikana. Oh, sorry. Upanana Virabhadikana. So here, run. This is a spelling mistake. Okay. Then getting sick originated by the disturbance of element. So there are diseases originated by the disturbance of elements such as leprosy, tumor, boils, and so on. So if we cannot balance 4 elements in this body, there's a sickness. I think now in the traditional medicine, I don't know for other country, we have Myanmar traditional herbalists, or maybe there's some well-trained traditional doctors. They will know this kind of bruises by heat and cold, something like that. Then they also say, sometimes this one is produced by water element, fire element, something like that. They can also say like that. This is Myanmar traditional medicine. Okay, the main thing is, we have many sickness, many diseases produced by disturbing of 4 elements. So we can also overcome it by taking medicine. If it's too cold, we can take medicine to remove cold. If it's too hot, we can take medicine to remove heat. This is called disturbing element. Then Vedana. Vedana means unpleasant feeling. So which means suffering feeling. We call dukkha, right? When we talk about Vedana, it also can be happy feeling. It also can be equanimous feeling. It also can be suffering feeling or unpleasant feeling. But here, it just means unpleasant feeling. Because when we feel something unpleasant or something discomfort, we take medicine. If our body is good, we don't need to take medicine. We don't need to waste the donations of devotees. So he also mentioned, according to Abhidhamma, when we talk about Vedana, unpleasant feeling, it is an unwholesome resulting consciousness that arises in the body door. In other words, it also body door mental process. Right? The body door mental process, unwholesome resulting consciousness. In the kaya vinyana, samrichana, sandirana, something like that. Then the 4 locuses are supporting causes. Okay, next one, right? Next part. These are the 4 locuses we can find in Buddha's teaching. So these 4 locuses are only supporting causes of our life. We have to survive to depend on these 4. That's what we also call dependent, 4 dependents. When we are using the 4 locuses, the 4 locuses, and reviewing, as mentioned in our talk today, or as taught by the Buddha, we are practicing the training of precepts. So now we have to review how to practice this kind of precepts. Then we have already talked about Patisambhidamagga restraints in our previous Dhamma talks. There I didn't mention very much in detail about Patisambhidamagga restraint because it will be whole Patisambhidamagga text, 227 rules, and also all the Khandaka, it will be Vinaya Pitaka. So they have mentioned Patisambhidamagga restraint is accomplished by faith. When we have very strong confidence, very strong faith in Buddha's teaching, if we have very strong faith in the three trainings, we may practice the sila. Sometimes people say that I have very strong faith in Buddha, but they may say they don't want to practice sila or something like that. Then it's not really called faith. If we have very strong faith, no excuses. We may follow as Buddha instructed. Then they have mentioned a stanza. As a hen guards her eggs, as a yak guards its tail, as a mother guards her beloved only son, her only beloved son maybe. This is grammatical, okay, era. Her only beloved son, and also as one-eyed man guards his eyes, the meditator should respectfully love and protect his moral precepts at all times. So here we have to know one more thing, respectfully. We must love our precepts. So disciplines can be good culture. If we are trained very well in discipline, we may have good conduct, good speech, good actions. Also, we have a good mind. Then here mentioned one of the bhikkhu. The era was bound by the rivers with black creepers and made him lying down. So he cannot get up. If he cuts, the creeper is possible. Why he didn't cut? So some of the creeper are regrowable. We can regrow it. We can transplant it. By cutting a creeper, if we can keep it on the soil, it can regrow anytime. So that kind of things we call Visuddhimagga. Whatever then we can regrow is called seed. According to Vinaya, we must not spoil any seed. And sometimes we have some difficulty in power. Some devotees, they didn't know Vinaya. They offer flowers. You know, some of the flowers they have also very long stems. You know, if we replant, it can grow. Then we cannot cut it. So we have to suffer for it. Sometimes I have to keep only in my washroom. I cannot cut. Also, the verse also not that much big enough, not that much long enough sometimes. So in this kind of situations, we have to suffer for it. The main thing is there are some creepers or trunk or roots or seeds or sprouts. That's all the things can be considered as seeds, as long as it can regrow if we plant it. So here he didn't cut because that creeper can regrow. That's why he just lying down, just practice vipassana without having food, without any drink, After 7 days, he attained no return fruitions and also passed away. He was born in the Brahma world. So that means he sacrificed with his life for morality. Sometimes some people also say it's two extremes. Two extremes. Some people also say like that. Whenever somebody say like that, I also reply, it depends on how you value and what you value. For example, there are many people, they sacrifice their life for money. This is the thing they value. There are some people, they destroy themselves for money. That means they like money more than their life. But here in this case, he loved morality more than his life. This is the thing he valued. There are many other cases in modern society. There are many people, they sacrifice for their family, their son, their daughter, for their wife, something like that. But now here in his case, he just sacrificed his life for morality. Then we also have another error mentioned in Visuddhimagga. That the same thing happened to him. He was bound up with a string creeper, made him lying down. Although the forest fire came, he did not catch the creepers. He established in his inside, he attained hardship simultaneously with his death. He had string creepers. I think this one is it. I know this kind of creeper. I have seen this kind of creeper in Singapore. When I was in Singapore, I just go for walking. One day, I just walk together with Chinese traditional doctor. I show him the creeper. This one's better. You can taste it. I think this doctor may remember this creeper. Not very far from the center. Anyway, this one is also, even the roots are coming down from the creeper. Although it does not touch the ground, it can grow like this. Very strong creeper. Anyway, that kind of creeper, if we cut, we can also regrow. That's why he didn't cut. That is why he passed away, as we have mentioned before. But because of forest fire, he was burned by forest fire, he passed away. Then there's a stanza mentioned. A faithful man maintained the rule of conduct pure, renouncing his life if needed. He will not break any precepts laid down by the Buddha. That is the statement we can find in Buddhist texts. Anyway, so renouncing the life, here you can also read in these two stanzas. I read two stories. So in brief, Patisambhidamagga restraint comes from confidence. If we have very strong confidence in Buddha's teaching, we will do or we will practice as the Buddha guided. Then next one, 2. Guidance and those is accomplished by mindfulness. So they are mentioned mindfulness. Actually, we have already talked about it. For example, eyes. If we see it unwisely, if we see something unwisely, defilement will come through our eyes. It will disturb us. So the Buddha also mentioned many similes. We can also find in Venerable Nanda. Nanda is Buddha's younger brother, husband of Janabala Klayani. He was ordained, and also he just remembered his wife. The Buddha brought him to the Devaram, showed female devas or something like that. You may have known this story. Then later, when he attained headship, the Buddha gave one simile. As the rain cannot leak into a well-room house, lust cannot leak into his mind. That is what the Buddha said in Dhammavada. Now, this Venerable Wangisa, we can find his talks in Samyutta Nikaya. They have mentioned many things about Venerable Wangisa. Venerable Wangisa, one wandering for alms foods, he saw a woman, and lustful mind arose. Then he asked Venerable Ananda, Venerable Sir, my mind is consumed by lies. Consumed by lust, out of fire. Out of compassion, please guide me how to overcome it. The Venerable Ananda guided him. Wangisa, perceiving asubha as a subha, that's a fire consume your mind. Don't look for any sign of beauty. Keep your mind on the repositiveness meditations. Make a habit of it. You just guide like that. Then he also sees formation as a lion, as suffering, as a non-self. You may extinguish the lust of fire and do not allow it to arise anymore. So which means we must know that all the formations are a lion, that means like stranger. It's not familiar to us. We have the person we have never known before. So it's suffering as a non-self. If we can know like this, we can also overcome the lustful mind. Then we also have another story, Venerable Chittakuta, who live in great cave at Kurandaka. Although the Era lived there for 60 years, he did not look up at the cave. Even he did not know there are painting of the chronicle of the 7 Buddhas. He also knew the ironwood tree at the entrance of the cave when seeing the petals on the ground. The king, Kakawanadisa, hearing the virtue of the Era, invited him 3 times. The Era did not go and see the king. The king ordered all the women with infants. As long as the Era does not come, let the children go without milk. Very cruel, right? When the baby are crying, the Venerable One hear it and also asks why the children are crying too much. Then his disciple reports, Venerable Sir, the king order, as long as you do not come and see him, he will not allow the children to get milk from their mother. Out of compassion for the children, the Era came to see the king. When arriving at the palace, whoever paid homage to him, the Era said, may the king be happy. Even he did not look at anybody who paid homage to him. That 7 days went by. After coming back from the palace, he attained headship at the very night. So you can also imagine how strong his morality, especially he had restrained since those. Then we have another story, Venerable Mahamita. His mother was sick. She sent his daughter, a bhikkhuni, to the Arab to bring the medicine. Then the bhikkhuni come to his brother, half-brother. Although she also asked to give medicine for the mother. The elder, by declarations of the truth, taught his sister to rub the mother's body, his mother's body. He declared, since I was ordained, I have never broken the virtue or restraints of sense faculties by looking at the opposite sex with a lustful mind. By this telling the declaration of the truth, may my mother get well. He said like that. Then finally, the mother can get well. Then this is the power of controlling symptoms. Okay, we have 2 more steps. The pure livelihood is accompanied by energy. Then also mention another one. The last one we have already talked about, concerning requisite morality, is accompanied by wisdom. So by recollections, how we have explained today. So these are the practice we have to know in our daily life. Next week, we have to talk about the using policies. Then also like automatic tabs or something like that. Anyway, if we are practicing the trainings properly, we can improve ourselves. If we cannot practice the trainings, we cannot improve ourselves. So if we are going to improve our mental quality or spiritual power, or we are going to try to improve our meditation, we have to train step by steps. Later, we will explain all the things. May you all be able to practice the 3 trainings, and may you all be able to realize the inner suffering, Nibbana.
Venerable, there is one bhikkhu. He has special requirement for the monastery design. He used very tidy dining table and very beautiful dining hall, Western dining hall. And also on the table need to cover with very beautiful cloth. So in the monastery also have a lot of decoration. So the question is, is a bhikkhu suitable to do all this activity? This is the first question.
Okay, for decorations, if lay devotee can do it, will be much better. Bhikkhu should not be busy with this kind of decoration, right? Our life should be simple and more comfort and more free. If we are busy with unnecessary things, we cannot do teaching and learning or meditating also. Okay? According to Vinaya, we cannot say this is right or wrong, but from my point of view, ordinary person should be simple. Okay?
Second question is nowadays there are many ordained persons emphasize a lot on health, taking care of the body. For example, a bhikkhu may teach the devotees on how to practice qigong or exercise. So the question is, does a bhikkhu suitable to do all these things? An ordained person, how to balance himself so that he would not spend too much time on taking care of his health?
Actually, in this case, we have like a Dilichana Vija in Tikka. We have many things like that. Also, we can also find this kind of things in like Samalisisa 30, the last rule. We can find many different things like that. Okay. Like teaching Qigong or something like this is not really very good for the bhikkhus. We should not do it. Okay?
His question is regarding Samanyapala Sutta. In Samanyapala Sutta, a monk should not talk about too much about politics, country, or kings, the ministers.
Yeah, sure.
So for nowadays, regarding politics for monks, are they suitable to talk about that?
So for a sense of urgency or for Dhamma purpose, it will be okay. But just about talking about policy, only about the political policy or something, this is not really very good. Okay, political policy is not really very good.
Seattle just now says that someone may sacrifice his life to protect the morality, the sila. So how about another condition? Someone may not want to give difficulty to others. Then he break the precept. For example, he don't want to bother others, so he takes money by himself. So how about this condition?
Okay. In this case, if we have faith, no excuses. Okay. So there have to be many different conditions. Whatever situation we have, if we value the sila, we will follow the sila. We're not breaking any situations. Okay. So I have already talked about it in many, I don't know how many chapters ago. Lava priyanta, yasa priyanta, and something like that. They are mentioned. There are some people, their morality end up in gay. For example, they will break their precepts for money. Sometimes they will break their precepts for their family member or friends or somebody, their associates, their companions, something like that. So these are very basic morality. If we cannot follow this kind of basic morality, we cannot do higher morality. Okay?
The question is, in the beginning of the talk, Sayadaw mentioned that when a person do reflection when using requisite, he is using the requisite with wisdom.
Yeah.
Could Sayadaw explain about this again? Sadhu.
Okay, so that means reviewing whatever thing we are going to review, we have to use our wisdom. Here we have to think about the purpose of using requisites. For example, now I'm wearing the clothes. I have to reflect the purpose of using these clothes to protect myself from heat and cold, from mosquito bite, and something like that. We have to know and understand the purpose of using the requisites. That's why it's a wisdom. Okay?
I heard before a devotee complain about Pa'ao teachers and meditators who can practice samatha and vipassana as very proud. The devotees say that other sectarian monks are very friendly and can have nice conversation with layperson. So he rather go and associate with these monks. As ordained person, we prefer to stay straight in the Dhamma Vinaya. But when we need to associate with some devotees may complain about us like this.
Okay, so there can be many different opinions from many different people. Not only in Palo, everywhere there can be different attitude, different mindsets, right? For example, in Thailand, then there are some monasteries, it will be very friendly. There are some monasteries, not that much friendly. It can be many different places. It depends on, right? The person, not depends on the Dhamma. When we are going to talk about Dhamma, sure, we don't need to think about who say or who do this kind of things. We just have to think about the Dhamma. Anyway, here the main point is, not only in Palo, everywhere we can find many different people. There are some people, they are using their social skill to convince people, or there are some people, they are not interested in that kind of social welfare. Think about their own practice. It can be different. So one more thing, when we are going to meditate, we should have less association, less communication. It will be more convenience for our improvement. Okay?
Vandamisya, some bhikkhu, they build their monastery by Michadiji. So this type of monastery, can the other monks stay with and without committing offense? And if this monastery is to offer to other bhikkhu, would this monastery considered pure monastery?
Does that mean monastery offer by?
Bhikkhu who Michatiti Bhikkhu. Micha Jiva. Sorry, Micha Jiva Bhikkhu. Through Micha Jiva, the Bhikkhu built this monastery, and this would that consider breaking the precept? And if this monastery are going to offer to other bhikkhus, would that consider pure monastery?
Okay, so in this case, like Kula Tusaka, okay, we have already mentioned Kula Tusaka, many very long list, right? If somebody have requisites with wrong livelihoods, as we have mentioned before, then if he builds this monastery, it's not allowable for any of Brahmacharya, sub-Brahmacharya. If a bhikkhu lives there, whenever he enters the kuti, in another place, the monastery, it is a dukkata, right? It's not allowable. Okay?
Please advise what the reason Qigong exercise is not suitable for bhikkhu.
Okay, so, in the list of Tilachana, which are like a riding elephant, riding horse, or like a martial arts, something like that, like Bauzen, all these things are not allowed for bhikkhu to teach. That's why this one is not very good for bhikkhus to teach lay devotees. Right? If bhikkhu teach bhikkhu, okay, possibility, but it's not really very good also.
For an ordained person, if they discuss about politics, it is not suitable. It is not suitable, is it because of this type of discussion may interfere or may cause disturbances in their mind?
Yeah, so okay, the main thing is really, if we just do the many political activities, we cannot meditate, we cannot do teaching. So then it can just stop our practice. Also, one more thing is also a little bit risky. Right? Even we must not have very much strong relationship with politicians. If we have a very strong relationship with politicians, this is also not allowable. We have Raja Wanapa in Bali, right? We must not have very strong relationship with king or minister or somebody like that. So if we talk about politics too much, sure, this is wasting time. Okay?
If a bhikkhu, if he teach Qigong is not suitable, how about he himself practice Qigong, or if he teach others martial art, is it suitable?
Actually, okay, for about health purpose, okay, we can exercise just for health purpose, not for body strength. It doesn't matter. What about teaching martial arts? This is not really very good. Bhikkhu must not be martial artist. Bhikkhu must be a bhikkhu, right? When you study martial arts, you have to move your body very ugly, As a bhikkhu, we see some bhikkhu like play martial arts, it's very, very ugly. We should not have this kind of activities, okay?
Next question is, Mandami Bhante, when Bhante was explaining about moderating in food, people can also prevent themselves from past karma that can produce illness. Does this also mean that in general, if one has bad present karma, past karma will always take over?
Sure. So that means, we have many different situations, right? Sometimes past karma is a producing cause. Sometimes it can be only supporting cause. It depends on situations, okay? We cannot say past karma will take over all the time. It depends on situations, okay?
And the next question, Mandami Sayadaw, what is the proper way in practicing Paccayasannissita sila? Reflecting once a day, or maybe we should do the reflection every time we enter a building.
Okay.
Every time use meal, medicine.
Okay. So we have some statements, okay, according to Anguttara Nikaya, I would say according to Anguttara Nikaya, right? According to Anguttara Nikaya, it mentioned, if we just really metta for short time, they mention Achara Sangata, maybe one finger snap, maybe something like that, right? Achara Sangata. One thunder strike or something like that. So if we can really metta, if we can metta, this means really, really powerful metta, right? Can ready metta within one finger steps or maybe one thanda striking, very short moments. If we can ready metta to our devotees or the donors, then we are not, although we don't reflect all these things, then it will be allowable. We have that kind of statement. So, okay, we have one scholar in Myanmar. I will not say the name. Okay, one scholar. Then he said, as long as you are meditating, although you don't recall it, it's okay. He said like that. Then again, also we also have many other saying about this one. For example, at least we must reflect one time a day before dawn rise. So if we can do whenever we are going to use the robes, whenever we just rearrange the robes or we are rewiring the robes, then we have to reflect. So like food, when we are accepting or when we are consuming, we can reflect. Certainly for kuti, whenever we enter the kuti, we have to reflect. For about medicine, everything water, whenever we drink water, we have to reflect. This is, if possible, we have to do like this. So okay, in brief, when we are meditating, okay, this in the text it mentioned only metta, right? But according to another scholar, it mentioned any kind of meditation. It's also possible. That's why I just said that one. Then we also have one times a day, or whenever we are going to use, we have to use this one. So in brief, at least one time a day, you have to do before dawnrise. Okay.
Next question is, for a lay devotee, one precept that is hard to be always maintained is the fifth one, which is the alcohol drinking. One reason is that it is not easy to avoid when he needs to develop working relationship, particularly when bosses ask him to drink. Can Bhante give an advice on this issue?
Okay, so it depends on how influential you are. When you become influential, you can avoid it. If you're not very influential, so you are influenced by many other people, you cannot do it. So trying to be influential now, right? It will be possible. Okay, one more thing, I have the similar questions, not similar questions. I have met one lady from Malaysia. He's really younger than me. One day when we was going to leave, I just talked to her, okay, just try to observe 5 precepts. Now one of her friends told me, Bhante, she's very smart. Right? Then she can observe 5 precepts very well. Even they have some kind of company meeting or some like a, right? How is this one? Dinner party or something like that. He didn't take any alcohol. She knows how to avoid it. So that means it must come from practical. So I'm not very familiar with this kind of situation. For like party, I don't know anything about party, right? I don't know anything about dinner. I don't know anything about community meeting or community gathering. That's why I cannot advise easily. Because the main thing is if you are influential or if you know how to avoid it, ask from other people how they avoid. Then if you live in Malaysia, you can connect with Malaysian community. They will know who she is, right? When I say in this Dhamma Talk, some Malaysia will listen. They will know who I'm talking. Okay. Ask her how to avoid. It will be easier. I don't know. Okay.
Vietnamese said đó. Thưa ngài say đó, vị tỳ kheo chưa đủ 10. The bhikkhu not enough 10 wasa, can he ordain the samanera or vào những ngày Upassata không? Vietnamese said đó, thank you said đó.
Actually, less than 10 wasa, we cannot ordain any samaneras. Not only 10 wasa, actually, if we are going to be Upachaya, we must know the Patimokkha, Bhikkhu Patimokkha, Bhikkhuni Patimokkha. We must also know Khandaka rules, right? Then we must also know how to give Dhamma talk how to explain Nama Rupas clearly. If we don't have all this kind of ability, we should not be Upajjhaya. If we are Upajjhaya, it's a problem. One more thing here, only given the precepts allowed by 10 Vasa Bhikkhu or Upajjhaya, right? The qualified Upajjhaya, it will be okay. Even one Vasa Bhikkhu can give precepts. It doesn't matter. It will be exception. Okay.
Next question, could Sayadaw explain more detail about the concerning requisite morality is accomplished by wisdom?
Wisdom. How should I explain that one, right? Wisdom. So, okay, that means we must clearly understand, not superficially recitation. But there are some people, okay, now in modern community, there are many people, they just know how to chant. They don't know the meaning. This is not the purpose of this kind of practice. Paccayasannissita is not only recitation. So when we are intelligent, we can memorize. When we have good memory, we can memorize any kind of Pali passage, any kind of the reflections or recollections, but not only reading or recitation. It must be really understanding. If we can understand clearly all the passage I've mentioned, for example, right? Sorry, so with wide attention, then I just use these ropes, right? They mention dansa, makasa, vadadaba, sirisapa, sampasana, mention, right? Okay, get flying, vitamin, get flies, or mosquitoes, by creepers, blow by the winds, touched by the sun, flies, something like that. So to protect from all these things, I just use these ropes. We must understand the purpose. We must reflect with our clear minds and clear wisdoms. Okay, I did this and strong enough. There are many other things I have to explain if we talk about in detail. I have to repeat all the passage today, right?
Vanami said, nếu thí chủ cúng dường kỳ hoa, if the devotee offer the one branch of flower trồng xuống đất, if that flower, that long stem flower can be regrow again, if we put on the soil or into the water, thì vị tỳ kheo phải. So the bhikkhu need to say kapiyang karohi and do the kapiyang first. Is that right, Sayadaw?
Okay, in this case, no, because kapiyang karohi mostly for eating, we have to use kapiyang karohi. But in this case, okay, if we have very big, right, very big pot to offer, right, very big base, right, if we put flowers called base, right, verse, okay, very long verse, it will be okay. We can put into it. Verse, right? We can offer in the verse, but sometimes our verse is very short. The stance is very long. We have to cut. This one can be regrow that we cannot cut. Also, to do kapiyang karohi is not for consuming, not for eating. This is one problem. That's why sometimes if the kapiya come or somebody else come, I have to ask them to cut, then I can offer. Otherwise, I just keep in the base, the sink, until somebody come. Okay, the main thing is this: when we are offering this kind of things, we must be careful. Okay.
So I thought just now in your lesson you mentioned that we should not attach ourselves too much.
Sure.
How do we balance? For example, if one is very care about the health of his own health, and then how do we find the balance, like to be not to be too sensitive, on any health problems?
Okay, so in this case, for our health, sometimes because of too much sensitives, we also have to suffer for it, right? Okay, the main point is, as long as it's beneficial for our body, we can do it. it doesn't matter. Enough must be enough, not more than that. So sometimes if we follow our desire too much, we have to break many precepts. This is the problem. Sometimes we have to take care of our body, we break precepts. This is the problem, right? So as long as we don't need to break precepts. This is okay. We can follow our desire, no problem.
Vandami Bante, continuing the martial art topic, how about a bhikkhu do push up, sit up, lifting weight, etc. for maintaining physical health? Is it allowable?
Okay, this kind of thing only in his private place. If he can do like this, it's okay, no really big problem. Just for physical exercise, for sweat or for head, it's okay. But for strength, this is the problem, right?
Next question is, can we do the reflection in our own language instead of in Pali?
Yeah, it can be any language, it doesn't matter. We can use. Ita vata ja amehi sambadam bunya sambadam sabbe deva numodandu sabbe buddha numodandu sabbe satta numodandu sabba sambati siddhiya idam me nyatinam hodu sukhita hondu nyadayo idam me nyatinam hodu sukhita hondu nyadayo idam me nyatinam hodu sukhita hondu nyadayo idam me bunyam asavekaya vaham hodu idam me bunyam nibbanasa pacayo hodu mama bunya bhagam sabba sadanam bhajami te sabbe me samam bunya bhagam lavandu sadhu sadhu sadhu.